And here we go, ladies. We are at the top of page 94 in Working with Others. Outline the program of action explaining how you made a self-appraisal, how you straightened out your past, and why you are now endeavoring to be helpful to him. It is important for him to realize that your attempt to pass this on to him plays a vital part in your own recovery. Actually, he may be helping you more than you are helping him. Make it plain that he is under no obligation to you, that you hope only that he will try to help other alcoholics when he escapes his own difficulties. Suggest how important it is that he place the welfare of other people ahead of his own. Make it clear that he is not under pressure, that he needn't see you again if he doesn't want to. You should not be offended if he wants to call it off, for he has helped you more than you have helped him. If your talk has been sane, quiet, and full of human understanding, you have perhaps made a friend. Maybe you have disturbed him about the question of alcoholism. This is all to the good. The more hopeless he feels, the better. He will be more likely to follow your suggestions. Your candidate may give reasons why he need not follow all of the program. He may rebel at the thought of a drastic house cleaning, which requires discussion with other people. Do not contradict such views. Tell him you once felt as he does, but you doubt whether you would have made much progress had you not taken action. On your first visit, tell him about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. If he shows interest, lend him your copy of this book. So first and foremost, don't ever give your copy of the book away. Keep your copy. Feel free to have an extra copy or find one for him, but please keep your copy of the book. My sponsor pointed that out the first time we went through this, because don't ever give away your book. But in that first paragraph there, it talks a lot about what we talked about last time. With people who maybe aren't quite willing yet, or maybe have some reservations of some kind, and also speaks on not being offended if he wants to call it off, because that happens. Some people just aren't ready yet, and they're on their journey. The point is that we're here to carry this message, and it keeps us sober. I always like to think of the girl who called me, and she's like, I drove all the way there, and the girl stood me up, and I was like, yeah, but was it a nice drive? She says, oh, yeah, I had fish and chips. And I'm like, and did you get home sober? She goes, yeah. I go, well, I guess it was a successful night. We're doing this to help them, but as well, we're helping ourselves. And it says that right in that paragraph. And of course, it says that your candidate might give reasons why he need not follow all of the program. Well, I don't know about you, but my experience is I thought I could take some and leave some behind when I read them on the wall the first time. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that one and that one and that one. But oh no, I'm not doing that one and that one and that one. So we can, I think, all agree that we've had some sort of experience with that we can share with our man as well, or woman. I'm just using the book's terminology. Anybody else want to chat on that page? I see Marianne going for her finger.
Oh man, you're good. You're really good with your intuitive thought. I'm an alcoholic. My name is Marianne from Toronto, Canada. Lovely to see everybody. So what happens? I know we've talked about this, but what happens when you have somebody that comes to a meeting and is, I can't stop drinking. My question is, how do you get him to the state of helplessness? Because sometimes I'm thinking about giving them hope, but do you really start dwelling on your story or the bad things? I know you probably covered this last time, but just give me an example as what I may be asking you for.
Well, a lot of the time now, I'll be like, well, why do you want to stop drinking? Because then they're going to tell you what's going on, and you can get a pretty good snapshot of where they are and what level of hopelessness they are. I mean, not everybody's going to have lost everything and homeless on the street, but you can get enough information by asking them why they want to stop drinking to rightly relate it to your story. And just to get that comparison and that common ground where they can see, okay, this girl had the same troubles as me. She's now identifying as an alcoholic and she's in a solution. It kind of ties the pieces together. I mean, most people don't come to Alcoholics Anonymous because life is amazing. So it's usually pretty easy to pinpoint with some questions what's going on, and then we can use that part of their story to relate it to hopelessness. Marianne in New Jersey.
Hi, thanks, Kimberly. Marianne, alcoholic. That part about how to approach the person and saying you were once like them. What I find difficult is when somebody's new and you start talking to them about what it was like for you and change. And I went through this with my brother. He took the kind of tack like, I am who I am, like you can't change me. I just have a problem that's, getting bad. And it was very hard for him to try to let go of some of his long-standing ideas of who he was, like not being willing to give up some vision of himself. And yet he would say something to me like, you've remained so teachable. We both went through my son's rehab at the same time. And out of it, I got sober, and out of it, he did not. And I lost him to this disease a few years later. But he always had this really fear of adjusting any part of himself, like losing himself in the program and not being like the strong He-Man type person he thought he was. So I found that difficult trying to work with him. I just tried to use my own work in recovery as an example. And he did try to follow it without committing. And that's the problem. If you don't commit to this program, if you don't give it a shot, really a shot of just following suggestions and see where it gets you, you'll get your money back, as they say, if it doesn't work. So, I just found early sobriety with a new person particularly frustrating for me. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. And again, speaking about, people that are super close to us, it's really hard when we're trying to help members of our family, loved ones, close friends, because we are emotionally attached. And sometimes it is best to, bring in some other troops for that person that's not so emotionally attached with them. But yeah, sometimes it's really hard, especially I find for people to understand that I used to be a mess because they can't picture that version of me. And that's why, being able to tell stories where they'll be like, you had that happen to you? It's like, oh yeah, like I wasn't always like this. Because sometimes it can be hard for people to have that conception of the old me. Leslie.
Hi, morning, Leslie, alcoholic. What if like, I've got a couple of ladies that I know, the brother, my niece's ex, but the father of her child, who, and then other people that, like, these men just seem to have such egos, and like the response is, well, I've known drinkers, I've known people who've spilt more liquor than you could ever even possibly imagine to drink. There's alcoholics and then there's alcoholics. And how do you break through to that ego and that mindset? Or do you just say, let go and let God and just, and give it up to that?
Well, for one, we can't diagnose alcoholics, and we can't tell people that they have a problem because they're never gonna hear it. So it's just like, well, that seemed to be a problem for me, and I'm really happy with the new way of life I have. If you ever want to ask any questions about it, I'm here. It's keeping that loving space open so that they can approach you when and if they become ready. Because otherwise we're talking to a wall. They're not going to hear it.
I was kind of referring in some way, in a roundabout way, about the person that I live with.
Yeah, and in your case, like, there's nothing you can say that's going to get your husband to change anything. It's you teach people how you're going to be treated, and we walk with our convictions, and if they see what we're doing is working, then they might be attracted to our way of life.
Okay.
There's nothing you could do or say. No human power.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
but this is where Al-Anon might come in a big handy for you, or Coda, where some of the things you're doing are probably enabling his behavior. Okay. Jenny D!
Hey, Kim. Hello. I missed Wednesday. I was so sad. Okay, Jenny Alcoholic, and I see some of my Coquitlam girls here. Yay! Hi, ladies. You know what I love? What we just read? And I only saw this like in the last 2 years. You know how every once in a while you read the book and it's like, what? Where it says, here you are, you're basically at the very beginning of this person's journey. So just how important it is. No, sorry, let me go back. Make it plain, he's under no obligation to you, that you hope only that he will try to help other alcoholics when he escapes his difficulty. And it's like, first, right off the bat, he's finding out that he has a primary purpose, and that's what we all do. I just love that, and I honestly have never done that until I started until I found this 2 years ago, because everybody has a deep, no matter how deep we are in alcoholism, we all have this deep sort of need to help somebody for whatever reason. I also want to say about trying to 12-step family or close friends. My stepdaughter, she's young, she's in her early 50s, and she's sitting in a Maple Ridge care home right now with wet brain. And Ron and I tried to, we tried everything, but we knew we're not the right people, and she wouldn't talk to anybody else. We left a big book there, and she would just go, thanks, Dad. I'm okay, Dad. And she was so not okay. And now she's got wet brain. Like, this is what happens to us if we just cannot or will not, right? Anyway, that's it. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you. Trish?
Sorry, I was cleaning my glasses. Hi, I'm Trish, and I'm an alcoholic. I've missed a few. I'm just, seems like people have to come and do things at noon in this town to help me with this rain runoff. Anyway, yesterday, a friend of mine, good friend of mine, came by, and she was telling me about getting back with her partner, who has been in this program probably her ex-partner for 5 years, like along 5 years ago maybe. And then they separated, and now they're back, and he's on to the bottle pretty hard. And just listening to her, I've never done this kind of service yet. So I listened, and she talked and told me what she was going to do or thought she should do. And just a couple of things she said, I said, I wouldn't say that. But he did admit he was an alcoholic, and I just walked full of mosquitoes back here. So we walked down the sidewalk, and I jumped in my car, and I grabbed a little book that I have, the mini big book that I can't see anyway, but I always had it in my car. And I just said, just put this by his bed or in his car or something. You don't have to even say where it came from. If he asks, you just say. And then when she left here, she took it and she said, well, maybe I'll read it. And I said, yeah, that'd be a good idea. I don't know if there's any Al-Anon meetings, but what do you suggest? I don't, she's my friend, but I was trying to help her, but I think he knows everybody in this little town that would be in the program where he could get help with the mails and stuff. But at least if he lost his book or something, maybe he'll pick it up. Is that okay? Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much. Yeah, dropping hints and leaving the book, and just living by example are the best ways that I've ever found. Because there's no convincing an alcoholic. Like how easily convinced were you? Is always like what we need to think, and then you could think, well, what would have worked for me? Because we're stubborn folks. Marianne.
I was just with the paragraph that your candidate may give reasons. I've got in the margin, I guess the person who took me through this has practiced Bacher empathy. Meaning I was the same thing and I can't get to be a preacher. Practice Bacher empathy. That's all I wanted to share.
I don't know why it made me think of like Knickerbocker. I don't know. All right.
Be balked, right? So,
Balked, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
practice Bacher empathy.
Bacher empathy. I like it. Unless your friend wants to talk further about himself, do not wear out your welcome. Give him a chance to think it over. If you do stay, let him steer the conversation in any direction he likes. Sometimes a new man is anxious to proceed at once, and you may be tempted to let him do so. This is sometimes a mistake. If he has trouble later, he is likely to say you rushed him. You will be most successful with alcoholics if you do not exhibit any passion for crusade or reform. Never talk down to an alcoholic from any moral or spiritual hilltop. Simply lay out the kit of spiritual tools for his inspection. Show him how they worked for you. Offer him friendship and fellowship. Tell him that if he wants to get well, you will do anything to help. If he is not interested in your solution, if he expects you to act only as a banker for his financial difficulties or a nurse for his sprees, you may have to drop him until he changes his mind. This he may do after he gets hurt some more. If he is sincerely interested and wants to see you again, ask him to read this book in the interval. After doing that, he must decide for himself whether he wants to go on. He should not be pushed or prodded by you, his wife, or his friends. If he is to find God, the desire must come from within. If he thinks he can do the job in some other way or prefers some other spiritual approach, encourage him to follow his own conscience. We have no monopoly on God. We merely have an approach that worked with us. But point out that we alcoholics have much in common and that you would like, in any case, to be friendly. Let it go at that. So talking in that first chapter about our being rushed, make sure they have a moment to digest things. We don't want to push, and then it's basically your will on their will and no God's will anywhere. We just wish to be helpful. Here's what we do. Here's how it worked for me. Here is a copy of our manual. And check it out. Let me know if you're interested in what we have to offer. What was I just going to say? Oh, ask him to read this book in the interval. As some of you know, this book is very confusing, especially the doctor's opinion in the first 4 chapters. And so to read that on your own, one may not get all that they would like out of it. I love to have them read the stories in the back and highlight those things from that, what's it called? The preface, where it says, yes, that happened to me. Yes, I felt like that. Or yes, I believe this program can work for me too. I like to read the book with them because it is very confusing, and things that we find very important and pertinent to our recovery are things that get glazed over and missed if you're reading this on your own. Or like I have one girl, I'm like, read page 10. Read page 10, because that's the page that she needs to read. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, great pages. That's where the program can be found in a nutshell. And it's a pretty easy read. But to read this by yourself, you're going to miss some really huge points if you do it the first time by yourself. And then, of course, if he's interested and wants to see you again, that's great. We're not going to push him or prod him. And at the end of the day, we just simply wish to be helpful. And if it doesn't work out, we've made a new friend. And if we're not pushy and we're not judgmental and we're not preaching, we're going to leave that line open that they can call us again if their method doesn't work. Because if they are as seriously alcoholic as we are, I haven't seen any other method work. I've seen this method work, but I haven't really seen any other methods work. So we just want to be open for them to come back when and if they need us. Because otherwise we lose that opportunity for being helpful. Any more comments, questions, concerns? Marianne.
Hi, sorry. I'm full of questions today. So let's say you have somebody and you tell them, okay, here's a book, read the stories, and they come back and go, yeah, I would like to have help. At that time, people, do you start reading the first 164 pages with them? Like a lot of people say, oh yeah, we'll come to this meeting and, keep coming back and stuff like that. That didn't really work for me.
No. So what I was doing up until a couple weeks ago is I would read them the entire book from the title page to page 164. I'm finding that these times require a little bit faster movement. And so we've switched it where we're doing, and we've been doing this for the past 2 weeks. And I don't know if she's on here, but one of my girls did it just the other day and messaged me. She's like, holy cow, that was amazing. Where we do the 1, 2, 3 from knowledge, referring to page numbers, and we get them right into the 4, 5, and then we get them practicing 6 through 12 while they're now looking at a big book study. Because it takes a lot of time to read the book one-on-one, and it's COVID. A lot of people have lots of time, but in regular times, people got kids, jobs, responsibilities, and so it's hard to get them through the book quickly. Because if you do one chapter a week, you're not getting the solution fast enough. And so, we've got this triage where we go 1, 2, 3, get that basic understanding, get a 4, 5 done, get the 6 through 12 going, and get into the book studying. It's a textbook. It's meant to be studied and enhanced. And that's been working for us, and it's what my sponsor's been doing for years. Because, go to meetings. The 90 and 90 before you go to do any work, you're going to lose them. Or they're going to get a mixed message. Or they're going to get, someone else's idea of what the program is. I like to get them right into the program. Melissa, haven't seen you forever.
Hey, I'm Melissa Alcoholic. What did you just say? How do you do the 1, 2, 3 with them?
Yeah, we're doing it like a triage. So my sponsor calls it triage. So we go through 1, 2, 3 orally.
Yeah, please.
Oh, sorry. I'm just gonna mute you so you can hear. So we do the 1, 2, 3 orally, and we refer to the book, right? Page 44's got 1. If when you honestly want to, you find you can't quit entirely, or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, you're probably alcoholic. And they go, okay. And then we explain in a conversation the doctor's opinion, the allergy of the body, and the malady of the mind, and get an understanding verbally through conversation. And then we go and we start talking about step 2, and we get into, we agnostics and talk about step 2, and then we get into talking about step 3. So we do it in about an hour and a half conversation where we walk them through 1, 2, 3 orally, referring to the book, basic text. And then the next visit, if they want it, because we let them digest, then we start the 4 written.
Do you have the pages of the 1, 2, 3?
I do, yeah. I can put them in the chat.
Okay.
And then we just walk them through the 4, do the 5, so we've cleared it, and then you get them right into the prayer. Prayer. Prayer for willingness to do the amends, prayer for the fears to be removed, prayer for the conduct to be removed. And then you've got them connected, and then you can get a further understanding. So it's like basic working. Just say you got a job at the grocery store, right? And they're going to teach you the cash register. So they stick you up on the cash register and they give you the basic rundown of how to do a transaction. Ring through the items, take the money, give the receipt in the bag. You got a basic knowledge of that basic. And then they're like, okay, maybe Joe Schmo comes in and he needs a refund. So we're going to quickly show you how to do a refund. And then as you're doing it every day and you're learning it more, you get a greater understanding where you become this proficient cashier. So we just want to get them into it and then grow their understanding. And it's been working. Anybody? All right, let's flip a page. 96. And this also could be the dyslexic sex addict. I don't know if anybody's heard this before, because page 69 is our sex conduct. And then they say if you're the dyslexic sex addict, you go to page 96. Do not be discouraged if your prospect does not respond at once. Search out another alcoholic and try again. You are sure to find someone desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you offer. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work with you. If you leave such a person alone, he may soon become convinced that he cannot recover by himself. To spend too much time on any one situation is to deny some other alcoholic the opportunity to live and be happy. One of our fellowship failed entirely with his first half dozen prospects. He often says that if he had continued to work on them, he may have deprived many others who have since recovered of their chance. Suppose you are now making your second visit to a man. He has read this volume and he says he's prepared to go through the 12 steps of the program of recovery. Having had the experience yourself, you can give him much practical advice. Let him know you are available if he wishes to make a decision and tell his story, but do not insist upon it if he prefers to consult someone else. He may be broke and homeless. If he is, you might try to help him about getting a job or give him a little financial assistance. But you do not deprive your family or creditors of money they should have. Perhaps you will want to take the man into your home for a few days, but be sure you use discretion. Be certain he will be welcomed by your family and that he is not trying to impose upon you for money, connections, or shelter. Permit that and you only harm him. You will be making it possible for him to be insincere. You may be aiding in his destruction rather than his recovery. So a few bits there. So at the first, it's talking about, those people who aren't desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you offer. And we let them go. It says we don't waste our time on these people because we miss the opportunity to help someone who does want it. You could be busy chasing this guy to and from meetings here and there and propping him up on a stick, and meanwhile you could be helpful to someone else who's ready and wanting it. I also liken that to when you're dating. If you keep dating the wrong guy, you're going to be so focused on the wrong guy that the right guy was walking by you on the street. The same applies here to the alcoholic. If I'm chasing someone trying to save them, I'm missing an opportunity to be helpful with someone else. And when they are ready, we help them. we're here. We want to be open. So many people don't come back to the fellowship because they're judged for relapse. And it's really unfortunate. You know, we all have had those experiences. So why are we going to let our sick and weak drown, right? We want to be open and welcoming to these people. The broken homeless guy. Well, we live in a different time. This book was written in the 1930s. We live in 2020, and there's a lot more social responsibility and avenues for people who are broken homeless. There is welfare organizations and social assistance organizations. There are homeless shelters. I have a policy of not lending money to anyone. I do not lend money to anyone. I will buy you dinner, but I will not hand money to anyone. And I try not to make too much of a big deal of it. I don't buy cigarettes for people. I do have a pack of cigarettes in my car. So if I have a new prospect and they need a smoke, I have a smoke. But I don't give money. I don't think it's appropriate. And I don't let anyone in my home. I have children to protect, and I am a single mom. So for safety's sake, there are social agencies available and better equipped for that than I. To each their own. If it was my best friend, it's going to be a different story than someone I met in a meeting. But there's tons of opportunity and help out there for all of these situations these days. Joanne!
Hi, Joanna, alcoholic addict. I just wanted to say about the letting, you share what you can and then you let it go. I just want to remind everyone it's a program of we, and there's lots and lots of reasons that I don't know why someone doesn't want to stay with me, and if you watch and they leave you and they keep coming to meetings, then they find what they need. There'll be somebody else, someone they can identify. There's a young woman, she's 29 years old. She's gone through 3 different sponsors, but she finally announced that there's someone that she really connects with, so she keeps trying. And so all we do is say, keep trying. Yeah. Just don't leave. Whatever you do, don't leave. And it's a program of we. And that's all I wanted to share. Thanks.
Absolutely. And this is also like one of my favorite things about getting to know each other in the fellowship, because I have such a vast network as a result of this fellowship that if I'm not the right fit, I probably know someone who is. And I always have these little things and I'm like, oh my gosh, let me meditate on it. I heard somebody share about that. Let me think who it was and where they are. And because of that, we are able to make those connections if we maybe aren't the right fit for someone, which is the beauty of this. And that takes humility as well. I might not be the right fit for you, but I know a guy or I know a girl. And that's wonderful. And if all else fails, and if you're new, direct them to your favorite big book study. They're likely to find someone there. If you're new and you don't feel like you're strong enough to sponsor, or you're new to sponsoring, having just finished and had your spiritual awakening, bring them to a big book study. Grow together. Lois, I liked your pink hood.
Oh, thank you. It's raining here, so I had to go walk the dog. It's this, in this paragraph when it says, if we're wasting our time chasing somebody, and it's really a program of want. You've got to want this first before you're going to be able to surrender anything at all. Which is, you've got to start surrendering some of the ideas and attitudes and the things that are part of your whole psyche. And, if you're not willing to do, if you're not even willing to listen, if you're balking, like Marianne said, it's best to let them go, let them experience some more difficulties so that maybe they will be convinced that they can't do this by themselves. That's the beauty of this. We're not doing this by ourselves. We've got a faith in a higher power, and we've got a fellowship that we can turn to we're not relying on them, but we can turn to also help us through situations that maybe somebody else has gone through, and get somebody else's perception and attitude about it. So thanks.
Yeah, and it can be so hard because we're humans, we have feelings, and we do love each other, and we want everyone to get well, and it can be really hard to watch someone have to go out and do some more experimentation. And the best thing we can do is to pray for those people and pray that they get back to us, because not a lot of people are getting back right now, and it's heartbreaking. Leslie, where are ya? I don't see you. Unmute. Leslie G. Where is she?
Okay.
Oh, hang on. I hit it. Do it again. There we go.
It was a late one. Who knows why? Yeah, and the part where it says that we keep them sick because we're just enabling, and what I had to learn is because it's still working for them. They're still getting from me what they think they need and they want. And so why should they change? I wouldn't. And so when I look at myself, because that's what I did until people finally said, even the ones who love me, we can't help you anymore. And then I wanted to get help that did work. So there it is, right in the big book. Love it. Oh, and I'm Leslie. I'm an alcoholic. Sorry about the distraction. Thanks. That's all I got.
Thank you so much. Marianne. Oh, wrong button. There we go.
So I heard this guy on a meeting the other day, and it was great. It struck me. He said, "I'm the helper, God's the healer." So I keep trying to remember that every time I'm working with somebody else. It helps me not to be the fixer-upper.
Right, because we are not the fixer-upper. We are the carrier of the message. Sorry, I'm just putting these page numbers in. Got it. And I read one, I think I shared last time too. It's like, sometimes we're asking God to take away our pain, but he's asking us to leave it. But we get stuck in there. I lost my page, ladies. 97. Got it. Lee.
Hi.
Oh, shoot. There you go.
Oh, shoot.
I
Can you
hit
hear
your
me?
mute. Yeah, sorry, I hit your button.
Okay, so I'm Leah, I'm an alcoholic. I would like to go backwards a little bit because I've been trying to figure out how to say hand up. So I finally think I got it because you called me. So I'm more than a little troubled here because I'm wondering for myself, my experience of coming into this program and learning the steps and doing step work and so on like that, as opposed to speaking about other people or, sponsees. I'm troubled at the rate that you're talking about getting people, through the process. So if you could please elaborate on that a little more, because it's not, I don't disagree with 99% of what you're saying, but I'm having trouble with, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, okay, and we're done. And I'm not comfortable with that. It certainly would not have worked with me. I was reeling with the information when I came in and I was detoxing. I was reeling from it. If somebody had done the, 1, 2, 3, okay, we're on 4, 5, 6, I would have had to have left.
Yeah.
And
we're not talking about it for every situation. What I'm talking about it is for the people who keep relapsing and they can't get it because they're going too slow. And so, if you're on step 1 and you're reading and it's taking a long time, this is for the people who are chronically relapsing, not just using alcohol, right? Where I live, in the community I'm in, there's a major problem with opioids and people are dropping like flies. We are losing members of our community every 2 or 3 days. And what's happening is they're going to step groups and they're trying to do this long process, but they're not getting the basics quickly. So this is what we're calling triage. Save their lives, separate them from alcohol, get them a base. This isn't do your steps, you're done. This isn't like, here you go, you're fixed. This is, we're just trying to separate you from the drugs and alcohol quickly so that we can get into the actual work. It's not a one over. I'm a go through the book line by line girl to get the knowledge, but this is just to separate those people, to get them a base so that they stop that cycle of relapse.
Okay, so can I just add on to that a little bit? I really get what you said, so
Yeah.
thank you. But who is we? When you keep saying we are doing this, and I'm just sort of wondering who the we is. Are you talking about the program, or are you talking about something else?
No, we meaning myself, my sponsor, and some other girls in our community.
Okay.
Yes. So as a group, we're finding, we as a little group are finding that there's people that are struggling with relapse, and so we had to come up with some sort of a solution. Yes.
Thank you so much.
We
for that.
collectively, Alcoholics Anonymous, use this book, and I read it first word to last word, one-on-one. But it's for those that they're just, you're losing them after 2 reads. It's because they're not getting it quick, right? Yeah. It's not a blanket. I would not do that for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Karen.
Yeah, I just find it kind of funny. This is kind of like what we're coming into now. It's kind of like the side effects. And on page 89, of course, it tells you, that life will take on new meaning and all these wonderful things. And now we're going to jump into the side effects of all these wonderful things, kind of like medication. You have that little print at the bottom, will cause runny bowels and bleeding, blah, blah, blah. But they're promoting the medication. Now we're jumping to the side effects of, it may be a loss of sleep, your business will be interrupted. But I just find it a little funny. But, it's important, but it's still finding a little bit of humor in that, life will be wonderful and your loneliness will vanish and your fellowship will grow about you. And then over here, it'll start saying you might have many nights of lost sleep and your frantic wives and relatives, innumerable phone calls, smashed furniture. I just find that funny. I have a sense of humor, so let's get into that. Let's get into this part where it's the side effects, ladies. Let's listen.
Thank you, Karen. And I just want to go back to Lee really quick. Lee, I also wanted to say, back when Bill and Bob were doing it, they did that condensed quick. Here's what we do, and then you grow in understanding. So there's a basis for it from our fellowship, from our founding fathers. Mel, wasn't it you that did that?
That did what, sorry?
That did the 1, 2, 3. It was.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So you wouldn't recommend that for a newcomer then?
No. Well, no. You could do it to anyone, but it is just a beginning. Like, it's not you're good and done. That's just like, let's get you started. Let's get you the basics. And then we want to grow and work to get the greater understanding of the literature. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Joanne.
Yeah. So I love the triage for the relapser. When I came in as a newcomer, I needed a lot of time I needed just clear up a little bit. And so I needed some time. But I also, my experience now with the younger generation, everything is more immediate gratification. And it's hard to convince people to believe that they can. And what this triage that you're talking about helps for relapsers, because what I've seen, I've never found a need to go back out, but what I've seen with relapsers is they get to a point where it's like, I don't believe this works for me because I've gone out. I've done everything and I've gone out. I've done everything and I've gone out. But then they have no place to go. And they're stuck with a head full of AA and a stomach full of booze. And to be able to quickly take them through that triage gives them that little mini belief again that maybe we can. And belief doesn't come until you can believe that something can change. When I came in, completely desperate, I was willing to do anything for change. But seeing people that have gone out and come back, they know they can go back out. They know they can take their will. And they know they can say AA doesn't work. But then they end up in that hell. And then they come back again. And to be able to do that quickly, just to get a little bit of, see, we got through that. How are you feeling? A little bit better. Do you believe that you feel a little bit better? Good. Then let's take that belief and keep going on.
That's right.
And that's it.
Yeah. And as you're applying, 10 and 11, they're going to grow that understanding and they're going to start growing and growing. And it's like, it works for the right person. Jenny D.
Hey, thanks, Kim. Okay, I just started sponsoring a new woman yesterday. Like she was here last week, and we actually did step 1 together. She's been sober a few months without a program. She's like, batshit crazy right now, but she wants to be in the program. So I took her to a meeting because our meetings are open, and we did step 1 together here. I didn't do 2 or 3. We just sort of got through the pages. So last night she asked me if I would sponsor her, and I said, yes, I would love to. And then I had this idea, and I want to run this idea by you because I know you'll be totally honest. I thought rather than going through the book with her line by line myself, I will send her to Kimberly's YouTube channel, and then we will discuss each one afterward. Am I being a lazy sponsor?
It depends on her level of willingness, though, right?
Well, she's totally, I haven't talked to her, but she's willing to do anything at this point.
Yeah, see, the risk you run with that is people not listening through it full and not following through in its entirety. But I have a girl, and she called me and she's like, look, I'm 7 years sober. My life's gotten unmanageable. I haven't been in the fellowship or the program for a few years. I don't have a sponsor. I have no time. I've got a bunch of kids, a bunch of business commitments. Can you help me? And I was like, are you willing to listen to my recordings in your spare time and call me and discuss them as you go? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And if that doesn't work, we're going to have to revisit it. And she's committed. She's doing it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
And
Okay,
I have
good.
another girl that just messaged me out of the blue, and she's like, I've been listening to your recordings. I'm on step 4. Can you send me the sheets? So there's people that are willing. Me, I'm not that kind. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to listen to the recordings. I'd listen to 2 in my car, and that'd be the last you heard of me. That's me. So it's like, it's all dependent on the person. But yeah, if it works for her, it works for her.
Yep. Thank you. Awesome.
I know guys that are going through our recordings and they're loving it and having a new experience. As long as you're doing this program, go at it. Janet.
Okay. Oh, wait. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Okay. So I have this friend. She's been trying to, she is sober, right? She's got 11 months now and stuff like that. But it's like, I don't know where to put this. I really struggle. She's still trying to, she's still trying to find outside things to make herself better, right? She's going to psychics, she's going hiking, she's doing all this stuff, right? And before COVID, I had her coming with me to at least the Alano Club once a week, right? And, she has children, so she has a hard time getting to meetings and stuff like that. But right now it's it's summer, and so her kids are in camp, and she has all this opportunity to do Zoom and all that stuff. But it's always she's like, oh, well, I can't do it because of this, and I can't do it because of that. And I just want to shake her. And then she's like, I need a sponsor. And I'm like, okay, well, go get one. 3 or 4 different times, right? And I'm just like, well, then get one. She's like, well, how do I get one? And I said, you ask somebody. She's like, well, who am I going to ask? And I'm like, well, if you go to meetings, and then she's I'm noticing that a lot of her problems are recurring. They're the same thing, right? Just in a different kind of wrapping. And I'm trying to explain this to her, but it's like, no, it's this, no, it's that. And she was in the step group when we had the step group going, right? But she hadn't actually like put pen to paper. And people were like, well, why don't you sponsor her? And I'm like, I can't sponsor her. Like, she's my friend. We're too close. Like, I was with her while she was getting loaded and stuff like that. So it's just like, I can't be that role for her because I don't want to like ruin our friendship. Right. So I'm just like, I'm at a point where it's like, do I just like I'll continue to be her friend, but do I just let the program stuff go and just let her do her own thing and maybe she'll figure it out along the way? Like,
yeah. Like if you read in more about alcoholism, from page 31 to our friend Jim, that's no, Jim's before the jaywalker. So you've got 31 where it talks about all the methods you've tried. And in there, it says taking more physical exercise. Well, there's yoga, hiking, right? Yeah. And then it talks about the man of 30 and then our friend Jim, and that's what she's doing, right? Yeah. It's like there's a program of recovery and there's what you're doing, and what you're doing isn't working.
And it's so painful for me to watch her put herself through all this stuff. But it's like I've taken her to a step group. You're right. I've tried to connect her with Zoom. Yeah. Right. And
so it sounds like you're doing her recovery more than she's doing her recovery.
Okay.
And just have that, Frank, I'm really concerned about you. Yeah. But this is your journey and I can't carry you anymore, but I'm here to help connect you if and when you want it.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't mind being friends with her, but I just can't do the legwork for her.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. You're carrying her recovery right now.
Okay, it's really exhausting.
Yeah. Concentrate on you and all your beautiful children. Okay. Marianne.
So, Kimberly, do you have like sort of a mental rule if somebody's still smoking weed but still want to do the program with you? Like, what do you do with that?
Well, for me, that's not going to work. I personally don't work with people that are using substances of any kind because it's blocking you from God. The whole purpose of this program is to create a relationship with a higher power, and those things are blockers of that. So it's not going to work. I have enough people who put that down that want to do it fully, but I don't judge. To each their own, right? I think it's a hindrance myself. My sponsor is even more hardcore, and she won't work with you if you're on anti-anxieties or antidepressants. For two reasons. One, she has no experience with it, so she doesn't understand it, so she doesn't touch it. And two, she is of the mindset that anti-anxiety is avoiding looking at your fears, and depressions is self-pity. That to me is hardcore, but everybody has their different opinion. For me, if you're using substances, you're blocking God, and it's not going to work, and so I don't waste my time.
So how do you just come out and tell the person that? Like, I don't have any experience with
absolutely. I that's not part of my story. I don't have experience with it. From what I've seen or heard from other people, this is what happened. I do have two people that I know in my social circle that have had experience with the marijuana maintenance plan and are now clean and sober, and I refer them to them. But I don't have experience with it. I don't work with people that are bipolar because I don't know how that thinking process works. I know how my alcoholic brain works. I know how my domestic violence brain works. I know how depressing and self-esteem issues work. I don't have experience, so I can't speak on it. So I'm not going to be the best person to help them. And that's a little bit of humility too, right? Where, yeah, we want to help, but we want to be the most effective. And some of that is saying, I might not be the right fit. Suzanne? has experience in this.
Alcoholic and a recovering addict, 10 days without weed. So I can tell you through this process that what my sponsor did was exactly what we did for alcohol. I inventoried, I prayed. She said it was a crutch, and she prayed while it was a crutch. She said, it's God's time. You will put it down. Once we went through the 5th step, and it took time, to find the people to support me. I wasn't a weed smoker very irregularly. I saw when I was at the community service that there was a program of marijuana weight maintenance, so I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. It doesn't really work for me. So if you were to say, oh, out of 10, I go to a 1. I have a very high tolerance for all medication because I have such anxiety. And the doctor wrote a note, and that's no excuse, but it was a crutch for me, and we recognize that. So for the meantime, we prayed for God to take away the shame. And I knew my mental illness was not well when my shame was overwhelming. But I kept praying, and I think I realized that I wasn't quite willing. There was a stubbornness left in me. But when I used, it was to sleep, and it was also to pray. So I would take a tincture, lie, and do devotionals and pray for God's help. So I'm not saying that that's the right method, but there's no mistakes in God's world. I got to know what it's like to be addicted also to THC. So I have experience of that, and I can help someone with that. But I am so happy that it's behind me. I am raw, but I don't think I think I may have relapsed without that little release valve. And I only got sick once on it, what they call it green sickness. And it didn't stop me from using. So I had to go to the 12 steps, go right through the process again. I knew exactly what to do. And now God has relieved me of that obsession. And I'm unblocked, but it took time, and sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. So we all knew that. And I really appreciated having someone who didn't judge me with that. So thank you.
Love you. And there's so many different scenarios. And this is where we're not the judge and jury. Like, it's between them and God, and my experience is just my experience. And if I don't know, I can't help with it. But I've had people who have come back because of abusing anti-anxiety pills or pain pills, where yes, it was prescribed by their doctor, so they had an out, but the dishonesty in obtaining them from the doctor and the dishonesty in the way that they were taking them, it was to escape a situation. And we just think there's like that malady, the spiritual malady we have, which is as a result of our resentments, and it's that big hole we try to fill. And our hole that we filled was with, the solution was alcohol. So when we take away that alcohol, we no longer have a solution for this big nagging hole in us. And sometimes we fill it with other things: shopping, eating, over-exercising, gambling, relationships. So just because we've taken the alcohol away doesn't mean we might not latch onto something else that's equally not as healthy. But what we want to do is we want to heal that spiritual malady with our step 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we don't need to fill ourselves with those other things. Lastly, oh, hang on. I'm going to stop the tape because it's 12.